Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the open meeting for Thursday, September 7th, 2023, and ask the Commission Secretary for information on today's agenda.
Each commissioner has independently reviewed the minutes of the open meeting of Thursday, August 31st, 2023, and each has informed me there is no need to discuss the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes of August 31st, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Each commissioner has independently reviewed the agenda, and each has informed me there is no need to discuss the notices associated with agenda items 2 through 5, the draft order associated with agenda item 6, closing docket 455 WR 104, or the draft order to reopen notice and request for comment in docket 14990 CW 102 associated with agenda item 6.
Move we approve the notices of investigation associated with agenda items 2 and 3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move we approve the notices of proceeding associated with agenda items 4 and 5.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
In docket 455 WR 104, I move we approve the draft order to close the docket.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And in docket 1490 CW 102, I move we approve the draft order to reopen. Draft order to reopen the docket.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that brings us to agenda item 8, which is docket 4220-EE-2024. And Commissioner Strand, as our delegated commissioner for Focus on Energy, is going to lead the discussion.
Thank you, Chair Bach. Before we get into the decision points, I do want to cover some of the highlights of this docket. NSPW has operated voluntary programs since 2009 that offer bonus incentives on top of focus incentives to NSPW customers that participate in specific focus programs. The Commission most recently approved a continuation of those programs for the 2023 program year. On June 22nd, 2023, NSPW filed a request to implement voluntary energy efficiency programs for the 2024 program year, and that's what's before us today. Through its filings, NSPW has requested to continue the residential and commercial community conservation programs, CCPs. It has historically operated for both residential and commercial customers. NSPW is not proposing any design or delivery modifications to these core programs for the 2024 year. The residential CCP would continue to provide bonus incentives to all NSPW customers participating in the focus programs, providing incentives for home heating and cooling technologies and whole home projects such as insulation and air sealing. The commercial CCP would continue to offer bonus incentives to all eligible customers who participate in the Focus Business and Industry Program, serving small and medium-sized non-residential customers. NSPW proposed to continue operating the mid-market program as a component of the commercial CCP, and through the mid-market program, dedicated NSPW staff work directly with small and medium-sized businesses to provide information and assistance to address their energy needs and promote participation in Focus's business offerings. As part of its 2023 plan, NSPW has worked with Focus to target rural communities eligible for Focus's Rural Roadway Lighting Program. And for 2024, NSPW expects to maintain similar mid-market target markets as in prior years, but notes that it will continue to make assessments of appropriate mid-market target markets as more is learned from its 2023 program performance. Throughout 2023, NSPW continued to work on a tribal pilot with the Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior Chippewa Indians, which launched in early 22. NSPW has reported challenges in identifying solutions that would assist the tribe in taking advantage of the available funding, and so they have proposed to discontinue the tribal pilot program. I do want to note that although the pilot would be dissolved, the tribe is still eligible to participate in other existing focus programs, so it would not preclude them from pursuing those opportunities. In addition, a new residential pilot effort is proposed for 2024 that seeks to connect low to moderate income customers with a free home energy assessment that would assist the homeowner in identifying cost-effective opportunities for energy efficiency improvements. NSPW's initial outreach for this pilot will target customers qualifying for energy assistance to look for ways to make energy efficiency programs available to those facing financial challenges and associated barriers to participation. Therefore, the utility anticipates that 2024 will primarily be spent working out program design and delivery details and performing highly targeted customer outreach. Then, to the degree that there are expenses associated with the home energy assessments and any additional bonus incentives, those would be paid for out of the voluntary residential incentive budget. In determining whether to approve NSPW's proposed voluntary energy efficiency programs for 2024, the commission assesses whether the program is in the public interest. As was outlined in the commission memorandum, commission staff reviewed NSPW's program filing for compliance with Wisconsin Statute Section 196.374 and Wisconsin Admin Code PSC 137.08, and for consistency with commission energy policies. The commission staff also considered the following in reviewing NSPW's request: the inclusion of appropriate measures, the balance of services available to different types of customers, the level of coordination with focused programs, the adequacy of the proposed budgets, the cost effectiveness of the programs, the likelihood of the program's goals will be achieved, and the adequacy of evaluation, measurement, and verification plans. As was outlined in the memo, NSPW's 2024 filing is similar to prior programs approved by the commission, and the resulting overall budget proposed for 2024 is comparable to the budgets approved by the commission since the 2020 program year. As with prior year's program proposals, NSPW has set its own program performance goal to ensure expenditures are in line with commission-approved budgets. They have consistently delivered quarterly reports on program activities and spending for several years. However, from a cost-effectiveness perspective, we have seen some mixed results. NSPW has set its own cost-effectiveness goals for the CCP programs, and the residential CCP goal has been set at 3.0, and the commercial CCP goal has been set at 8.0. The evaluation of the 2022 program shows an overall CCP portfolio cost effectiveness ratio of 10.73, which means that for every dollar invested in NSPW's voluntary programs, the utility avoided $10.73 in costs that would have otherwise been needed for additional energy and capacity the utility must generate or purchase from another source. The 2022 evaluation found that the commercial CCP achieved $16.08 in benefits for every dollar invested, while the residential CCP achieved 57 cents in benefits for every dollar invested. The decrease in the residential ratio was substantially greater than the commercial ratio, resulting in the residential CCP failing to pass cost effectiveness for the first time. Of the 7 factors to be considered, this residential CCP UAT stood out to me when reviewing the record. In its 2024 program proposal, NSPW notes that it did not receive the 2022 cost effectiveness results until June of 2023, and therefore did not have sufficient time to determine appropriate program design changes to mitigate the issue prior to submitting its 2024 program plan. Nevertheless, NSPW notes that it would like the opportunity to coordinate with the focus evaluator, administrator, and implementation teams, as well as commission staff, to further investigate possible program changes for the 2025 program filing that could improve residential program cost effectiveness. PSC staff agreed that the timing of the 2022 evaluation results did not afford NSPW the opportunity to plan for and design potential program changes to improve residential program cost effectiveness, and that coordination with focus staff to better understand opportunities to improve this outcome prior to any future program filings is an appropriate course of action. I appreciate that NSPW has developed a good working relationship with focus staff and its trade allies. I encourage that collaboration to continue, and I encourage NSPW to use 2024 as a year of evaluation, especially as it relates to residential programs. However, the bottom line is that this program needs to become cost-effective. At this point, I don't have a proposed path for how to get there, but I'm not entirely convinced that we should make an arbitrary adjustment for the 2024 program performance goals. I am interested in hearing from my colleagues on the performance goals and remain open to making those adjustments. So, Chair Bach and Commissioner Huebner, please let me know how you're feeling about this one.
I agree 100%. And this is the way I think about it. So when my kids go out on the basketball court and they're not doing well from the free throw line, the answer isn't to let them take 2 steps forward to make their next free throws. That's not how we do this. So it's been on a downward trend for now 4 years in a row. It's not cost effective. The answer isn't to change how cost effectiveness is calculated. The answer is to find out how the program can achieve cost effectiveness. So I feel very strongly about that I agree. The answer is not to change the performance goals. It sends the wrong message for a million different reasons. So I'm right there with you. I agree. I also don't have a path for them. I was disappointed by the decision as it related to the Red Cliff tribe. And it seems as though maybe not enough time has passed. It hasn't been that long, especially when you look at the fact that cost effectiveness has been sliding for 4 years. Discontinuing the pilot with the Red Cliff tribe was less than 2 years before they pulled the plug on that. So I thought that that was disappointing. And I appreciate the fact that, we've changed how cost effectiveness is calculated, mostly because we brought avoided cost in line with reality. Because if we're talking about avoided costs, then it should be actual avoided costs, not made up or make-believe or aspirational avoided costs. And so I do appreciate the fact that they didn't have sufficient time and that they do have a good working relationship, and I appreciate that as well. I think that this is just an indication that this program isn't working and they need to go back to the drawing board. And I would actually encourage them, when they go back to the drawing board, when they take a look at the residential CCP program, that they also take a look at how their tribal program can also be redone. Yeah. Commissioner Hebner?
Great. Yeah, this is a utility that's had these voluntary programs for a long time. And we've supported them, and I would like to see them continue doing that. When I look at the overall cost effectiveness of 10, that they're saving $10 for every dollar they're putting into this, that continues to be another piece of evidence in the long laundry list of evidence that we've seen for years that this is a cost-effective, energy efficiency programs are cost-effective. And in fact, they should be probably doing more. Certainly on the commercial side, because that's consistently been highly cost-effective. The residential, the challenge for me was that it has been, for every year they've run this program, over 1.0. So it's not clear if 2022 was one bad year, one outlier. We know there's a lot happening with supply chain availability. Will 2023 bounce back and that will kind of be the only year that's underwater, or has the market changed in a way that's going to make it hard and they need a more fundamental redesign? I do think that the multiple years of success, to me, says let's continue with the program. Let's not just end the residential CCP, but let's continue it. Hopefully tweaks can be made, and then if a more substantial change is needed. As far as the goals, I think I'm in, I don't have a problem with keeping them the same, but my preference would be to, I think I was at the same spot a couple years ago when we took this up, adjust the goals to be 1.0 or whatever is appropriate. The avoided costs, changed dramatically, and I guess I want to make sure that the goal we're setting is really achievable. If 3.0 is really not achievable, then that doesn't seem appropriate. But for sure, we want to see 1.0. We want to see it be cost effective. So I guess that would be my minimum. So I would be at Alt 1 on that first decision item on the performance goals.
Okay.
Yeah. The only other thing that I'll note, and I kind of alluded to this too, is just that there is a lag in the evaluation where, like I said, they only got the 2022 results in halfway through 2023 when they had
Yeah.
already filed for 2024. So there is a lag, and it does take some time to get in there and analyze and figure out what's going on before they're proposing what they're doing for the following year.
Yep.
So again, it doesn't preclude a look back for 2022 and 2023 once we get those results, but I definitely think they need to make sure that they're using those numbers and that analysis to really drill down into what they're going to propose going forward. So yeah, we do have a number of decision points to be made about this. So the first one is performance goals, as Commissioner Hebner said. I can join you at 1, but Chair Bach, if you have, I agree, Are we just gonna drop the number of free throws they have to take,
Yeah,
or?
right. So, I was at Alt 2, take no action, but that's also because I'm at Alt 3 for the residential program. I would not approve it. And what I would do is I would not approve it because I'm not willing to have them decrease their cost effectiveness goal. I would just have them come back to us and, I would like to have them come back to us when they file their 2024 program evaluation plan. I would also have them include a new residential plan and make tweaks to this, and I would hope that they would incorporate some level of tribal programming within that new program. And it's okay to have a rebuilding year, right? As we go into the season of Jordan Love. And we have to watch Aaron Rodgers play for the Jets, which is awful. But they can have a rebuilding year, because you're right, they have had success, and I don't want to send a message that I'm discouraging voluntary programs, because I've been a huge proponent of energy efficiency, and I think it needs to continue to be a cornerstone of the transition. That being said, it has to prove out to be cost effective, because it's still important that we are keeping an eye on cost effectiveness. So I would be at Alt 2 under performance goals, because under the residential CCP, I'm at Alt 3. And I would just have them come back and file a new program, whether that's a modified residential CCP or they want to go a different route. I would do that, but I'm not planning to approve the residential CCP program.
Commissioner Huebner?
Yeah, so I'm for the performance goals, I would be at Alt 1, and I would say we should set the residential at, well, we don't need to set it
Yeah.
today, but they're gonna come back to us with what, a proposal that will align with what they think they can achieve in at least 1.0, I would say. I was comfortable approving the residential CCP, knowing that they can make some adjustments within that, because it's bonuses on top of focus incentives. So I was hoping that they can target their marketing towards the measures that are getting them the positives, and maybe they can reduce their targeted marketing on measures that are reducing that. And I thought that they would have the flexibility in 2024 to do that and try to get this program back to a 1.0. But
Yep.
yeah, if you think we need a more fundamental kind of a refiling or an additional filing that would have them tell us how they plan to get this cost effective, I'm open to that too.
Yeah,
So.
Okay.
yeah. I think we know, to your point about the downward trend, that it's been trending towards not being cost effective, and now we're actually there. We're under that 1.0 threshold. And I don't know, again, given what we talked about with timing, that they're gonna be able to figure that out between now and the 2025 filing, especially without the results of 2023 until next summer. But again, I do think there is a lot of value in the program, but it's not working the way that it was designed to work. So that being said, with performance goals, which is obviously tied to the residential CCP program as well, which is two decisions later. I think I am gonna go with Chair Bach on this one, because it's not working. So I guess, okay, so the modified alternative, I think, would be to take no action as it relates to performance goals. And then, under residential CCP, alternative 3, don't approve it. And then ask them to go back to the drawing board and submit a new program design that includes revamping the tribal outreach program by June of 2024, when we will hopefully have some more information about the 2023, or maybe July 1st of 2024, so we have more information to base that redesign on. Does that encapsulate where you would like to be on that?
I think
Okay.
that's great.
So I'll move that, so it would be alternative 2 for performance goals, alternative 3 for the residential CCP, and then a new a direction to revamp, re-up tribal, and file that with us by July 1st of 2024.
Yeah. If they choose to continue.
If they
to
want to
do it, right,
continue
'cause it's
residential
voluntary,
CCP.
right,
Exactly,
so-
above and beyond.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
So you would have them I think Chair Bach, when you originally talked about it, you wanted them to maybe refile by this December 1 of 23.
Yeah, I was looking
So-
at their evaluation, measurement, and verification plan, but I think Commissioner Strand brings up a good point, and they said they're not gonna have enough time.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't hold them to that.
Okay.
I would be inclined that, again, we can't force them to file a voluntary plan.
Yep.
But if they choose to relook at a residential voluntary plan, that they should bring it back to us next year.
You're right, when they have the full look back.
Right.
Yep, okay. So then, for the evaluation, measurement, and verification plan, let's change that December 1st date then. And maybe that's where we can include them to come back with the new residential program design.
Yeah.
Okay. So for evaluation, measurement, and verification plan, alternative 3, we're creating a new one, would be require them to submit it for the 2024 programs by July 1st of 2024, and also include either a redesign or an explanation of not continuing the residential program, and also further efforts to revamp the Red Cliff Tribal Plan, pilot program.
I guess I would propose we probably break that up. I think we will need an evaluation plan, because this
You want the com-
evaluation
You want
doesn't.
the commercial evaluation plan by
Right,
December?
I think we're gonna,
That's fine.
whatever programs they're gonna
Yep.
run in 24, I think they need the EM&V plan
By December.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
so that they know what they're evaluating against.
Okay, helpful,
But
thank you.
then, yeah, for residential, it looks like it'll be a different
Yep.
branch.
So let's break
Yep.
them up into 2 reports then. So residential revamp and tribal would be due to us by July 1st.
Yep.
And then the CCP, or the commercial
Evaluation.
CCP evaluation plan would be due to us December 1st of,
Yeah.
yes.
I
Are you
Yep,
comfortable with that?
yep,
Okay. Zach, do you have what you need to,
Did you follow that?
I'm working on it, I'm
Bouncing
working
ball.
on it. So Commissioner Hebner, would you be dissenting then with regards to the
Yeah,
performance
I would.
goals?
Yep, and the residential
And the residential.
CCP.
Commissioner Hebner, would you approve it just as filed? Are you at Alt 1?
Yeah, yeah, because I think they have flexibility within the program to decide which measures they're going to add the bonuses to. And so I think they can look back at their data to find, okay, which measures are pulling us up above 1.0 and which measures are below water, and kind of reorient their incentives just towards the ones that are cost effective.
But don't you think they should have been doing that?
Well, I don't know if the heat pumps was the thing that was identified in the memo. I don't know if there's other measures out there that, part of the challenge is there's a lag where you're running your program, and it's not until you get evaluated that you realize, oh, this particular measure, like lighting, for example,
Yeah.
like, could have been like, we're not giving you any credit for that, because when you go to the store, all you can buy is an LED.
Right.
So you thought you were gonna get savings for lighting, but now it got reduced, and you don't know that till that evaluation comes in. So I guess I'm sort of giving them maybe that flexibility to say, okay, with the knowledge you got, let's drop out the low measures and refocus yourself on the best measures. Because I'd like to see some continuity in the marketplace too, where that market clearly has opportunities for energy efficiency, residential. I mean, all the markets do, but.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay, all right,
Okay.
so you'd
Yep.
be at Alt 1, got it.
Yep.
Or you are at Alt 1?
yep.
Okay.
all right, so I want to make sure that we capture the commercial CCP program. So I am at alternative 1, approve it as proposed for the commercial CCP, and then also with the note that for the verification plan for commercial specifically, that would be due by December 1st of 2023.
And I agree with both of those.
Okay.
Yep, I'm joining you at that.
Okay, and then we have one other program to discuss as it relates to this. It's this new residential home energy assessment proposal. I do believe that there is value in those, and I'm interested in learning if covering the cost of that does help overcome the barrier to entry as it relates to energy savings actions, and also eligibility for energy savings rebates. So for that one, I was at alternative 1.
I was as well.
Yeah, I think this is really great, because especially with the Inflation Reduction Act, tax credits and rebate programs that we're gonna be running here soon, getting more residential customers in that flow of, you've got your audit, okay, here's what you're gonna do, and now, by the way, there's incentives both from the state and the federal government to help you actually do the projects. I think it's a great onboarding So, yeah, alternative one.
I agree. I think it's really exciting. It's great.
Okay, so with that.
Do you need two motions?
Do you
or
want
one?
me to do two motions? Okay,
There's gonna need to be,
Okay.
one
On the residential?
on residential?
on the residential, and then, second on the commercial.
On the
and-
performance
and
goals?
Okay,
pilot.
let's take 2 minutes to talk with our focus administrator to make sure that we're capturing everything that they need.
Okay.
And then we'll come back and take the vote.
Okay.
That's good.
Is this captured by this? In terms of, on the performance goals, by denying? So this is just one.
Yeah, because nothing's happening
Right.
because it's going away.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Three motions, not one. Yeah. Okay, when you guys are ready, we're ready. Okay, so I believe we're going to take this up in three parts to make sure that we are giving the direction that needs to be given. So the first would be for the residential CCP. We would suspend the current program, ask them to resubmit a newly designed program that also includes the tribal pilot program by July 1st of 2024. Does that? Yes, okay, so I'll make that motion.
So Commissioner Strand, I think probably in the interest of clarity,
Yes.
it will make sense if we do that, if you add that as part of the denial under
Under one. Program.
Commission Alternative Residential CCP
Yep.
on page 16.
Perfect, yes.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you.
just so that it's clear.
Claire, yep.
I think that gets at the issue, Zach.
Yeah. Mentions like this.
Yep. Okay. All right. So I can make the motion since
I'll second it.
Commissioner Hebner is going to be dissenting. So I would move that as it relates to the residential CCP program, that we do not approve NSP's proposed residential CCP. We encourage them to go back to the drawing board and come forward with a revised program that would incorporate tribal outreach. And we would ask that any new residential CCP type filing be made by July 1st, 2024.
Second, thank you.
Okay, all in favor, aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay.
And can I have 1 second to ask a question to staff
Yeah?
before you do commercial? Okay.
Yeah. So then I think we should go here, because then we take no action. Right. Just so it's clear, because this is only this program. So we can just make it clear for the.
Okay. I will then move that we approve the commercial CCP and that we also approve NSPW to submit their evaluation program for the CCP by December 1st of 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then finally, I would move that we approve NSPW's proposed residential home energy assessment pilot.
And do we need
With the
to add-
caveat that NSPW should come back to us in 30 days with a line item for the proposed budget for that program, because it was built into the residential program that is not being approved.
I accept your amended motion.
Perfect. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. And just for the sake of clarity, we don't need to take a vote on performance goals, which is located on page 15 of our memo, because that discussion item is now moot since the program has not been approved. So I just want to make that clear. We don't need to take a vote on it. Am I right? Are we good?
Yes.
Okay, all right, okay, okay. Now we're moving on.
Yes,
We're
thank
moving
you
on.
guys for working through that with
Yeah,
us.
no, that's great. Agenda item 9, which is 6680-EE-2024. Commissioner Strand, the floor is yours.
I'll try to
again.
be a little bit more brief. We have less decision items here. Thank you, Chair Bach. In this docket, we are reviewing the proposal for Wisconsin Power and Light Company to continue to operate the Enhanced Low-Income Weatherization Program, which has a very fun acronym of ELIWP, but I will probably just call it the Weatherization Program, as a voluntary program for the 2024 and the 2025 program years. The commission first approved WP&L's Weatherization Program to operate in the 2018 program year, and the commission has gone on to approve its operation in each program year since. On June 30th of 2023, WP&L filed a request to continue operating its weatherization program in the program year 2024. The program works in coordination with Focus to cover costs of whole home weatherization and energy efficiency improvements for income-qualified, single-family homeowners who receive gas service or electric and gas service from WP&L. The proposed ELIWP program also includes plans to extend program eligibility to income-qualified customers in owner-occupied multifamily units, where an eligible owner-occupied unit would be eligible to receive up to $4,000 for a weatherization project. Consistent with Focus's Tier 2 incentives, customers are eligible for the weatherization project if they are homeowners who earn less than 80% of statewide median income. WP&L targets potential program participants using an analysis of historical energy usage data to identify highly inefficient homes. Customers who apply and are approved for low-income home energy assistance program benefits are also eligible to participate in this program. So similar to what we just discussed in the NSPW energy efficiency docket, in determining whether to approve WP&L's proposed voluntary energy efficiency programs, the commission assesses whether the program is in the public interest. And consistent with what we discussed with NSPW, there are 7 factors that we consider along with the statutes in the administrative code, including the inclusion of appropriate measures, the balance of services available to different types of customers, the level of coordination with focus programs, the adequacy of proposed budgets, the cost effectiveness of the programs, the likelihood the goals will be achieved, and the adequacy of evaluation, measurement, and verification plans. WP&L has developed its weatherization program over the past several years into a successful program that demonstrates the ability to achieve annual participation target. The ELIWP has set an annual target of 50 customer projects completed since it first began in 2018. It completed 25 homes in 2019, 36 homes in 2020, 47 in 2021, and 64 in 2022. With the 2024-25 program, WP&L is proposing to increase the annual number of units weatherized from 50 single-family units to 47 single-family units and 94 multifamily units per year, or an equivalent combination of both. To accommodate this increase, the 2024-25 program proposal requests to increase the budget from $400,000 per year to $800,000 per year, or $1.6 million total for the 2-year period, to support these weatherization goals. The memo noted that these budgets for non-incentive spending appear reasonable relative to the scope of the program being proposed and are in line with the historical expenditure breakdowns. The ability of the program to spend its allocated funding has improved over time as annual participation has grown. And as it expands into the multifamily residential market segment, more information will become available to assess the anticipated mix of participation going forward, as well as the project cost for multifamily properties. This information can then be used to adjust annual budgets as appropriate going forward. This information will be key as we look ahead to future evaluations of the program, which is why I appreciate the reporting requirements that WP&L included in its proposal. So this brings us to the first of 2 decision points, one regarding the submission of an evaluation, measurement, and verification plan, and the other for annual reporting. I agree that we should formalize WP&L's stated intent to report on its weatherization program activity by requiring the utilities to submit an evaluation, measurement, and verification plan by December 1st of 2023. I also find it reasonable to direct WP&L to report to the commission by April 1st of each year and to coordinate with commission staff on the appropriate format and content of this filing. So that puts me at alternative 1 for both decision points, but given our robust discussion before, I'm very interested to hear from my colleagues.
I'm in the exact same spots. I think, as we've seen with EV tariffs, the expansion into multifamily properties for me is going to be a game changer. I think it's been a hard to reach segment, but it's a really important segment of customers. And I applaud this particular utility for their plan to expand into that market. I'm hopeful that they will see great results, but I do agree that we should formalize both their evaluation and their annual report intentions. And then the only little tweak that I would make is, as part of our memo, it was suggested that perhaps we would add surveys or interviews with multifamily property owners to gather more intelligence. And that's the only thing that I would add that to their evaluation, measurement, and verification plan. And so I'm at the same spot. I'm at Alt 1 under both decision points. But I would add that they go out and they conduct surveys or interviews, because I think that will prove to be enlightening, and it could also help inform expansion into multifamily residences for other programs.
I'm in the same spot. It's great to see the results and the improvement of this program that was not meeting its goals and now is surpassing them and wants to grow more. And we know this is a hard-to-reach segment, and there's interface with the Weatherization Assistance Program. And, you know, I think this utility has done a great job of building those partnerships so that they can supplement and work together with those programs. So I'm at Alt 1 on both of those decision items.
Okay, so with that, I will move alternative 1 regarding the evaluation, measurement, and verification plan, with a slight modification that we also include people on the street interviews to ensure that we're getting as much information as possible about the program going forward.
Second.
Yeah, we've got to finish, or,
We can take them all, we'll take them separately. since
oh, okay.
There's,
Yeah, I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
for annual reporting, alternative one, require WP&L to file an annual report by April 1st of each year beginning in 2024.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And then that brings us to our final decision point here. I did find that this expanded proposal is reasonable, and I think because they've demonstrated success in the single-family market, that they're definitely ready to expand it into multifamily and are well-positioned for success there. So I would be at alternative one here, accept the proposed ELIWP.
Okay, as long as that includes our addition of people on the street.
Yes.
I'm with
So it would
you.
probably be two then, consistent with the discussion, but yes,
Yep.
we approve it
Okay.
with that
So alt two.
alt two slight modification.
Yep. Good.
I'm in the same spot.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good. Good thing. Good. Okay. Okay. That takes us to our final item on today's agenda, which is agenda item 10, docket 9819-CE-100. And this is also Commissioner Strahan leading the way.
Season of summer.
Yes.
Okay. Item 10. Thank you, Chair Vach. For us today is docket 9819-CE-100, an application for a certificate of public convenience and necessity for Elk Creek PVI LLC to construct a solar electric generating facility. Elk Creek Solar is a wholly owned entity of TED Renewables. On October 17th, 2022, Elk Creek Solar submitted a CPCN application for a 324-megawatt photovoltaic generation facility that includes an approximately 76.6 megawatt battery energy storage system, or BESS. The project also includes a substation, operation and maintenance area, and an approximately 300-foot, 345 kilovolt generator tie line connecting the project substation to the point of interconnection. The project is to be constructed in the town of Springbrook in Dunn County, Wisconsin. And despite the project's nameplate capacity, no more than 300 megawatts will be delivered to the point of interconnection. The project area, including both primary and alternate sites, constitutes approximately 2,556 acres of mainly agricultural land. The project will use solar panels connected to a single-access tracking system. And major components of the project include PV modules, inverters, collection lines, a collector substation, a generation step-up transformer, operation and maintenance buildings, and the BESS. Again, this is a solar generating facility, which is a renewable energy resource explicitly promoted in Wisconsin's energy goals. As a non-combustible renewable energy resource, the project is also the highest priority generation alternative. In addition, the project is complemented by a BESS, which is designed to enhance the efficiency and integration of the solar generating facility. And as we will discuss, the record demonstrates the project has a minimal impact on the environment. A public hearing was held on Wednesday, May 10th of this year, which was followed by a party hearing on May 12th. In addition to the applicant, Renew Wisconsin participated as a party in the docket. The proceeding did garner some public interest, which resulted in 55 public comments submitted through the PSC's electronic regulatory filing system. I appreciate the participation and effort put forth by the applicant, Renew, members of the public, and commission staff in developing this record. I found it to be thorough and complete, which I know is no small task, given the multitude of issues to consider and develop. Additionally, this project garnered a lot of positive feedback, as evidenced by the record and the fact that the vast majority of comments received were overwhelmingly supportive of the project. I would also like to commend the applicant for its thoughtful and robust community engagement process that included meetings with town and county officials, local governmental entities, and the broader community, including non-participating landowners. The positive impacts of this engagement are as follows. There is an executed joint agreement between Elk Creek Solar and the town of Springbrook in Dunn County that includes commitments by Elk Creek Solar regarding assurances in the support of decommissioning, as well as cooperation during and after construction. Utility shared revenue payments, good neighbor agreements, and a charitable giving pledge to the local school district have also occurred as a result of this engagement. I would also like to add that Elk Creek Solar has entered into options to lease property or acquire easements from participating landowners or to outright purchase land, with the majority of the land being owned by a single landowner. Informed by the evidence in the record, I will be supporting Elk Creek's application with modifications that will be addressed as we work through this decision matrix. Before we get to that discussion, I do want to offer Chair Bach and Commissioner Huebner the opportunity to make any opening comments that they have.
Thanks, Commissioner Strand, and I appreciate you taking the lead And stay tuned, everybody, because next week it's going to be a repeat. But I think, I just want to echo what you said in your remarks and you know, for developers and for legal counsel who are representing developers, I think this is a perfect example of how effective community engagement can be. And we've seen this before, but this one really stood out in stark contrast to some others in terms of when you put the work in early and you engage at the local level, and everybody gets a seat at the table and concerns are raised and they are addressed appropriately. I think I will speak selfishly and say that it makes my job easier. But it also, I think that good neighbors and willing hosts for facilities like this is best for the state. And so I would commend the applicant for their effectiveness and just the holistic approach that they took. I thought it was really well done. And I also, not to bury the lead, will be voting to approve it. Commissioner Huebner?
You said it all. I'm ready to go.
Now you know how I feel going third.
Yep.
Thank you very much. As laid out in the decision matrix, there are 9 issues, some with a multitude of sub-issues that the commission must address in determining whether the project as proposed qualifies for a CPCN. Of the 9 issues, 1, 2, 4, and 8A are uncontested, so we will focus our discussion on the remaining contested issues. Which brings us to issue 3. Issue 3 pertains to compliance with Wisconsin statute section 196.41 sub 3D6 and whether or not the proposed project would unreasonably interfere with orderly land use and development plans for the area involved. Both the applicant and renewer are at alternative 1, and commission staff commented that the proposed project does not appear to unreasonably interfere with orderly land use and development. It's mostly agricultural land, and the agreements were reached voluntarily. Therefore, I am at alternative 1 that this project does comply with the applicable statutes.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Wonderful. Moving on to issue 5. The commission has been asked to consider whether the design and location of the proposed project is in the public interest, considering the siting criteria of the applicable statute, or if we should modify the proposed area. In assessing this issue, the commission must consider if the design and location of the array sites and alternate sites are in the public interest and would not cause undue individual hardships, and determine if the facilities will have an undue adverse impact on other environmental values. As was discussed previously, they're going to be built in an area that's agricultural and under contract. And the environmental assessment determined that the potential impacts to non-participating landowners would be minimal. So these findings, combined with the outreach efforts that we discussed and the commitments to the local community, give me great confidence that the impacts have been investigated and addressed. So with that, I'm at alternative 1 for this issue as well.
I am as well, alt 1.
Yep, I am as well.
Wonderful, thank you. Issue 6, we'll start with 6A. Ask the commission to weigh in on order conditions and introduces general conditions similar to those that have been included in prior electric construction orders. So the question here is whether this project should include the general conditions outlined in the scope. Because they're similar to those included in prior approvals, I mostly support them as presented. I would add that in 6A, the applicant indicated that they support a slight modification to replace the project area language with a project facilities language to offer testing, quote, before any construction activity that may interfere with the testing commences, rather than prior to installing metal into the ground. We did discuss this with staff, and there aren't major concerns with the proposed language, and I agree that the modified language would probably be a reasonable condition to include here. The only other sub-issue in 6 that I would like to mention is 6T, the reporting of local labor. The applicant states the project will produce approximately 300 local jobs, and I do fully support the gathering of this data. It is a relatively new reporting requirement, and the exact wording and scope of this condition has varied from decision to decision in my time on the commission and prior. And similar to the evolving language that the commission has taken up regarding stray voltage and best safety, I do think it would be helpful for us to continue to try to bring some uniformity to this condition. To that point, we did receive joint comments from the Operating Engineers 139 Construction Business Group and the North Central States Regional Council of Carpenters, who asked that we use language approved by the commission in the Portage Solar matter. This language would, quote, would require the applicant to quote, report to the commission on a quarterly basis its efforts and the efforts of its contractors to recruit Wisconsin residents to fill employment opportunities created by the construction of the proposed project, its efforts to collaborate with state registered apprenticeship programs, and the actual number of Wisconsin residents and out-of-state workers employed on-site to construct the proposed project. Again, we do have precedent of this specific language being approved, and with the hope that we can develop consistent language and of appropriate scope going forward, I am comfortable with supporting the proposed condition modification as suggested in the filed comment. Therefore, I'm at alternative 1, supporting all of the conditions 6A through 6T with the slight modifications mentioned to 6A and to 6T specifically.
I agree. I'm in the exact same spot. And just for purpose of clarity, I sort of assumed that it just kind of got lopped off in our decision matrix because the language that was proposed on the record by that letter that you indicated was pulled exactly from 9810-CE-100, and that is the commission's most recent order. And I would agree with you that for purposes of clarity and uniformity, that continue to be the language that we include. So I'm in alignment with you 100%. Thank you. Commissioner Hebner?
Yep, I'm in the exact same spot, and I want to thank the staff and applicant for working through this list of conditions, because these details do matter. And I agree with you on the stray voltage, that this language is better and what we've been migrating to, and on the workers as well, that we do want the actual number of employees in-state and out-state, as mentioned in that comment. So I'm in the same spot.
That brings us to issue 7A, which is the topic of final engineering plans, and asks if a project-specific condition pertaining to the provision of final detailed engineering plans is reasonable to impose as a condition of approval. Elk Creek Solar application did state that the final PV module and best equipment selection has not yet been made due to the continuous advancements in solar panel technology and the volatility of prices in that market. So in consideration of that information, because we have imposed a similar condition of approval in other dockets, and due to the fact that there's no contention regarding this condition, I am supportive of alternative 1.
I agree. Alt 1.
Alternative 1.
Thank you. 7B raises the battery fire safety topic and asks if the applicant shall construct, maintain, and operate the best facilities to follow good utility practice. At issue here is the use of the phrase good utility practice or best industry safety practice. We have elected to use the language best industry safety practice in prior dockets, including 9808-CE-100, and that is supported by the applicant and the commission staff in this proceeding. So as such, I'm comfortable supporting alternative 2 here, which would be replacing the phrase good utility practice with best industry safety practices.
I agree. And I think just as this technology continues to evolve, that is in the best interest of the project and the safety issues that surround this type of technology. And once we've seen BESS operational for a longer period of time, I think we'll probably have a consensus that's developed around the industry. But until then, I agree that we should be using best industry safety practices.
Yep, I'm at alternative 2 here as well, and just wanted to take a moment to recognize that this battery is going to be different than some of the ones we've done before. This is going to be distributed throughout the facility and be DC coupled, so I'm very interested to see how that technology difference works compared to the centralized BESS systems that we've seen prior to this, so.
Thank you. 7C raises a condition that would direct the applicant to provide the results of all MISO DPP studies and facility studies related to interconnection and the generator interconnection agreement related to the project when they have been completed. I'm supportive of this condition because the additional information provided once the study results are available would allow staff to identify any environmental safety or reliability impacts not described in the project review and provide an opportunity to work with the applicant on mitigating impacts there. So I'm at alternative 1 for issue 7C.
I am as well.
I'm at alternative 1.
The condition raised in issue 7D would authorize the applicant to construct the proposed solar PV electric generation facility, BESS facilities, and the tie line facilities, and would specify that the applicant is authorized to construct the project at a capacity of no greater than 324 megawatts AC for the solar PV electric generation facilities, and no greater than 76.6 megawatts DC for the BESS facilities. Initially, the capacity of this proposed facility wasn't entirely clear, so as a result, staff commented that specifying the maximum capacity could be reasonable to eliminate any confusion and ensure that the applicant would not construct facilities in excess of what has been proposed. Again, I think this is reasonable to clearly establish those capacities, and I'm at alternative 1.
I am as well.
Yep, I'm at alternative 1.
Thank you. 7E raises a condition that would instruct the applicant to avoid tree clearing activities during the period of April 1st through April 15th. We have implemented similar order conditions related to tree clearing avoidance periods in previously approved solar projects, and I do think this is an important condition because it reduces the risk of inadvertent take of various bird and bat species that could utilize the 9 acres of habitats within the perimeter fenced facility areas. The applicant did suggest that the commission could approve a slight modification to this, stating that, quote, to the extent possible, it should avoid tree clearing through those days. Staff agreed that there weren't any major concerns with this, and so I am comfortable supporting the modified condition of alternate 2.
I am as well. I think it's a reasonable modification.
I think I'm in the same boat at alternative 2, but as we were thinking about this and going through our briefing, we wondered, should we have them tell us in their quarterly report if they end up doing this?
You mean not tree clearing from the 1st to the 15th?
Yeah, if they end up having to take and do tree clearing.
Oh, do it.
That they would actually tell us if that had to happen. Otherwise, I mean, to the extent reasonably possible, I'm fine with the language. I just don't know that we ever actually
No.
find out if that happened or not. Something to think about.
Yeah. What would we do with that information? Like, I agree, it's nice to have,
Yeah.
but is it necessary to have?
Yeah.
I guess is my question.
I think, I don't know about any one particular docket, but just as we look kind of more holistically at the solar development, having an understanding of how often this ends up taking place, or if there's construction best practices that could be looked at in the future that would help avoid.
Yeah, impacts.
So-
I think it's great. I think we should get a DOE fellow, and that should be a project. Because I do think, I
Yeah.
do think it's useful information.
Right.
I'm not inclined to
Yeah.
put a reporting requirement in this
Yep.
specific docket, but I do think it's information
Yep.
that could be helpful, especially as a look back.
Right.
And then you kind of take
How
an
did it
inventory
go?
and see, yeah, yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to 7F, I believe. Yes. Potential aesthetic impacts. Here, the applicant would be directed to work with interested non-participating landowners that are adjacent to solar panel arrays on one or more sides of their property to create visual buffers and screening in order to mitigate visual impacts to the extent reasonable and economically feasible, and not otherwise impede the solar operations or access to sunlight. Again, we have implemented similar order conditions in previously approved projects, and non-participating landowners can benefit from these efforts. Therefore, I do think it's reasonable to require the applicant work with the interested landowners to provide acceptable forms of vegetation screening to reduce the aesthetic and visual impacts caused by the PV panels and other project facilities, as we've done prior, which puts me at alternative 1 here.
I'm in the same place, alt 1.
Yep, I'm at alt 1.
Thank you. The condition in issue 7G would instruct the applicant prior to commencement of operations to provide a copy of the applicant's emergency response plan that includes discussion of what follow-up steps would occur for site treatment and materials disposal after a fire, thermal runaway, or storm damage event. We have requested more detailed information regarding BESS facilities and other dockets, and we have ordered the provision of detailed reports and plans as it relates to BESS facilities. There was no opposition to this condition, so I am at alternative 1 for this one as well.
I am as well, alt 1.
Alt 1 for me too.
Thank you. The condition associated with 7H intends to address safety incidents and facility alterations regarding BESS. Again, this is a relatively new technology for us, and as Commissioner Huebner stated, it is scattered throughout this facility, unlike some of the other more consolidated bus facilities we've approved in the past. Therefore, I am supportive of reporting requirements because I do think we can benefit from gathering this information, especially associated hazards and best management practices. And I do think the applicant was well engaged on this one and has shown some flexibility in terms of its reporting requests. I think their alternative is reasonable, and it represents a good compromise. So I was at alternative 2 on this one with the modified
Yep,
condition.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm fine with the modified version too.
Thank you. 7I, identified a number of project-specific conditions that were suggested by DNR staff to help avoid indirect impacts to wetlands and waterways during construction. I appreciate the feedback from the applicant. In prior cases, we have looked to include some additional flexibility to improve these conditions with the language where applicable and practical. And I think for this one, it's reasonable to follow that same logic. So I'm at alternative 2 there.
So would you remove it as proposed by the applicant? Or would you modify?
I would approve the project-specific conditions with the modification that they're required where applicable and practical.
Got it.
To each of those 7 or just to the 4th one that was under concern? Sorry.
Just the one that's under concern. I think the other ones they were fine with.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so you would modify, implement, or you would say where, what would you say? Sorry. Where practical? Practicable. So I was fine with removing it, because I think, as you stated, Commissioner Strand, our goal is efficiency, not necessarily arbitrarily prescribing how the sequencing plan needs to occur.
Yep.
And so I was okay eliminating the bullet point number 4, as suggested by the applicant. But it sounds like maybe your suggestion is to simply modify that bullet.
I think we can just modify it because if they determine that it's not practicable or applicable, then they don't need to do it.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Huebner, thoughts?
Yeah, I wanted to include it. I think we've kept this or a version of it in most CPCNs that we've issued. And it's not just solar, but we've done that for transmission lines and natural gas too, according to my advisor. So a version of it I think we should keep. So I would be fine with Commissioner Strand's proposal to add where
Applicable.
practical, and I think that's really consistent with the testimony that we have and their response in the decision matrix too, but their testimony really does say they do plan to do this where practical. It's just a matter of when it's time to drive the posts in, you're gonna do all of that at once kind of thing.
Right.
So,
Okay. Okay, I can join you all at adding where practicable and reasonable, applicable.
okay.
Now I'm just throwing out words.
That's, yep.
You got it, all right.
So modifying it after essentially implement a construction sequencing plan to the extent practicable and reasonable, or?
I don't know, I think it's the minimizing the amount of land disturbed or exposed that's the applicable and practical. Like,
Or you can even just add the words "as practicable" in front of
Right.
the entire
whole clause,
sentence.
yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
I think that's
I
the
think
way
that's
that it's,
better.
that's the way that it's written in
Yeah,
the record.
yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, 7J is a condition that would instruct the applicant to work with the DNR staff regarding necessary permits for erosion and sediment control practices. Everyone is supportive of alternative 1, so I'm there as well.
I am as well, alternative 1.
Yep, alternative 1.
All right, 7K is seed mixes, one of our favorite topics.
Yes.
Here specifically, the applicant stated its preference to include red fescue in its seed mix, and the DNR recommended excluding it due to concerns that the species could eventually outcompete the pollinator-friendly forbs included in the mix. However, we have a wrinkle here. In response to the DNR's concerns, the applicant proposed a pilot program that may help establish comparisons between the proposed seed mix and a seed mix that excludes red fescue as a way to determine whether or not red fescue is as evil as we've heard it is, and see if it's compatible in this and future projects. Just a quick note that the results of the pilot probably won't be available for a couple years as these things take hold and are studied. But I do really appreciate the applicant proposing this pilot, and I do think it's a reasonable compromise. So for this decision, I am at alternative 2.
I agree, this was the highlight. This was the highlight of the case for me. I love the compromise. I hope other applicants take note. This has been the subject of a lot of discussion. And who says that the art of compromise is dead? Not here. So, yeah, I like it. I would accept it.
Okay, so we'll accept the pilot. I may have said the wrong alternative, but we accept the pilot.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, I think it's alternative 1. I think.
There you go.
I think
One.
it is alternative 1.
Yep.
And I agree with what both of you said, and I think the back and forth that we saw here and that we've seen in the past is the different types of soils, right? Where some soils, it's really hard to grow stuff, and yet you can't leave it bare. So that's kind of what the applicant is looking at. And DNR has said, kind of nowhere. So this gives us that chance to test it, and that's exactly what I think we should be doing as a commission, is getting real information so that we make better decisions.
Yep.
So it's perfect.
Agreed.
Thank you. 8B asks if the project will have undue adverse impact on other environmental values. In consideration of the evidence, the record, I'm at 1. I don't think it will have an undue adverse impact.
I am as well, alternative 1.
Yep, alternative 1.
Okay, and that brings us to issue 9, which asks if the commission should grant the CPCN for the proposed project. And consistent with our discussion on issues 1 through 8, I'm at alternative 2, which would be to grant the CPCN for the proposed project with the conditions that we discussed today.
Agreed.
I'm at alternative 2.
Okay.
You
All
good,
right.
Zach?
Yeah.
Okay, in docket 9819, CE 100, I move we grant a CPCN for Elk Creek PV1 LLC with conditions consistent with our discussion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that concludes our official business for today. Thank you, Commissioner Strand, for leading the discussions. Our next open meeting is scheduled for Thursday, September 14th, 2023 at 10:30 a.m.
Move we stand adjourned until Thursday, September 14th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.